If you like powerful brakes, then you have heard of TRP. They are adding the EVO Pro to their lineup today, which has more power, more adjustability, and overall is a better brake than anything they've had before. In this video, we'll cover all the tech on this new brake, install them on the stump jumper, and hit the trails for an initial review. Let's go. A few years ago, TRP released the DHR EVO brake, which set the standard for modulation, power, and consistency that all riders now expect from an aftermarket brake option. TRP is always striving to create better products, and that's what we have here. The TRP EVO Pro brake, an evolution of the DHR EVO, which adds some new features that we're really excited about, as well as retaining the features that we love from the DHR EVO. And we're lucky enough to have Kevin from TRP here to explain some of the details in the new brake, as well as, the thoughts behind the development for it. So, Kevin, let's dive into the EVO Pro brakes.
I'm Kevin from TRP, just cruising up here doing a little snowboarding trip and biking trip, and wanted to set Lost Kill up with the new EVO Pro brake that we came out with. Just here to talk about some features and how we made it better than the last DHR EVO, which was arguably one of the better brakes on the market.
For me, I haven't learned too much about the brake yet, so I'm gonna be learning throughout this conversation here. My biggest takeaways from this new EVO Pro brake are that it has more power and more adjustability. So let's start with more power. The DHR EVO was already a super powerful brake. How do we build on that? How do we get to more power, and why do we need more power?
So starting off with the race rotor, which we have already launched. This rotor is gonna heat up quicker. So creating power, you need heat. And so that was one of the downfalls of our R1 rotor. It took a little bit longer to heat up. That's some of the feedback we got from the racers. They want maximum power from that first corner on. So the race rotor just manages to heat better, heats up quicker to get to that maximum power. From there on, we changed the mechanicals a little bit on the lever to make it more powerful and a little bit more consistent.
So same size piston in the lever as well as pistons in the caliper. It's actually the same caliper as in the DHR EVO. And so really the power is coming from increased leverage in the lever, more mechanical advantage on the whole system. Is that right?
That is correct, yep. From there, we also have our TRP oil, which we do recommend in all of our brakes. It does have a higher boiling point and a little less viscous than competitors and aftermarket oils we do see on the market. So if you do want the best performance, we really do recommend using TRP oil. So that with heat management, the leverage ratio of the lever, that's how we get the maximum power and consistent feel to it.
Sweet. So let's talk a little bit about adjustability. So the DHR EVO only had one adjustment at the lever, a reach adjust, and the EVO Pro still retains that reach adjust, but is now adding one more adjustment. So can you talk about the new adjustability on the EVO Pros?
Yeah, so it's called the P.A.D activation dial. That essentially is what it does, is it changed where the pads hit the rotor. So if you do want a little bit more solid lever feel, if you're bringing your levers closer to the bar and you feel like it's pulling a little too close to the bar, you can dial in that P.A.D activation dial to get a little bit more solid lever feel. Right if you do like a little bit more modulation, you do want to have pull a little bit more, you can back that off a little bit. So
more adjustability is great. That's something that you definitely listen to the feedback from riders and delivered with exactly what they're looking for. One more thing that I am excited about with the EVO Pros is better compatibility. I had a little trouble getting my shifter and my dropper to play nicely with the DHR EVO levers, and it sounds like these have been updated a bit to give a wider range of fitment options for different shifters and droppers. Is that right?
Yeah, that was some more feedback we got from racers and riders and consumers like yourself, is more adjustment on the shifter lever. So we now have a left and right shifter integration with our levers. We can use it on each side. So if you want an inboard side towards the stem or outboard side towards the grip, you can do either or. And then also if you use like a competitor's shifter, Shimano, we do have an adapter for Shimano EV.
More options for just one clamp on the bars. I know I really like that clean look, and a lot of our customers do too, so it's great to have that option.
On the subject of making your cockpit look nice and organized, we do have the clean cockpit routing now. So the hose comes parallel to the bar. So if you do have one of those bikes that has headset routing, it goes easily into the headset. Also normal routing, it just cleans everything up. So, if you're racing and want to put a number plate on there, or just brings everything back. So yeah, very clean look.
Yeah, that's something that it seems like it's becoming more of a standard these days, and it's great to see TRP, hopping on that train and embracing the clean cables look. That's something that just makes a bike look more modern. I was just giving these new levers a squeeze, and I was reminded right away that the TRPs do have a super light lever throw, which has been kind of a big talking point recently. How does TRP accomplish that?
Yeah, so a little bit is the mechanics in the lever. The piston size, 9mm pistons, a little bit easier to push a small piston, the oil through. And then also the TRP specific oil, it is a little less viscous, so it just moves through the system easier. So all those put together just makes a nice, easy lever pull to it, so yeah.
Sweet, yeah, that just means less arm pump, and you don't have to pull over and nurse your forearms as often. So yeah, that's something we love about
Great
the TRPs.
modulation too. So if you pull it a little bit, it's going to stop. If you pull it harder, it's just going to give you more power. So there's plenty of modulation in there.
Something that everyone likes about the DHR EVOs is how consistently the power builds throughout the lever stroke. It doesn't come on all at once at the start of the stroke, and it doesn't all come on at the end as you're pulling super hard. It sort of just builds really naturally. Is that something with increased power in the EVO Pros? Is that something that's carried over?
Yes, that is correct. So, I mean, you don't always want the ultimate power, the maximum power when you pull the lever. So our brakes are designed to have a progression of power. So if you pull the lever slightly, it's going to give you a little bit of power. As you pull harder on that lever, you are going to get more power in the system.
Usable power is definitely the name of the game here. Doesn't matter if it's the strongest brake in the world if you just go over the bars when you use it. So yeah, like we already mentioned, the EVO Pro does use the same caliper as the DHR EVO. So that means that brake pads are obviously going to be the same size. It's going to be easy to find replacements for them. And yeah, Kevin, can you talk about the brake pad options and what comes stock in here?
Totally, yeah. So all of our brakes come stock with the performance resin pad. I would say most of the World Cup riders are using the blue performance resin pad. We also have the semi-metallic pad. So the differences between that, if you want, our performance pad beds in quickly. It has a really snappy feel to it. It works great. It does wear out quicker because that's what performance products do, is wear out a little bit quicker, just like like a max grip tire. If you want something that's going to last longer, or if you're up here in wet conditions and you want a little bit more modulation, we would recommend using the semi-metallic pad, which is the red backing pad.
Something to note is that the DHR EVOs are not going away. They are staying in the lineup alongside the EVO Pros, and yeah, this is just going to be a slightly more premium option with some more features and functions at the lever. So just go to our website, thelostco.com, to check out the pricing and all the details. These are offered in black, silver, and gold, just like the DHR EVOs. All right, well, I think that's about all the tech there is with the EVO Pros. Let's get them installed so I can go hit the trails and you can go snowboarding. So let's make it happen.
Sweet, sounds good.
All right, I hope no one notices that we actually already installed these brakes, but ugh. All right, we are mid-installation on the TRP EVO Pro brakes, and we've got the rear already bolted up. Hose is connected to the lever. We're working on the front right now, and we figured we'd share a couple of quick installation tips for you. We're going to have Kevin step in and explain a couple of really neat things that the TRP system has that sets it apart from the others.
So it's pre-bled from the factory. Go ahead and install the lever on the bike, get it kind of where you want it set up, and then now you're going to come up with the hose. You're going to put it up by the brake, make sure you got enough line. Right here, you're going to take your silver Sharpie, go ahead and mark it right about there, make sure you have enough line there. So while we do that, if you were to pull the plug out while it's on the bar, you're going to lose a little bit of fluid. So there's a chance you might get a little bit of air in there, giving you a squishy lever. So taking a little bit extra time, marking the line, taking the lever off, and hooking up the whole system will just save you in the bleed procedure. Okay, so now that you have the lever off the bike, you have the hose marked in the correct area to cut it, you can get this nice Tektro bar press and hose cutter from us. I would recommend getting this and a basic bleed kit and 100 milliliter of TRP oil when you get your brakes. So we can go ahead and cut that, get that barb started, go ahead and use the press part. So I already installed the compression nut and olive to make it a little bit easier. So now the lever upright like that. Go ahead and pop out the plug. You can save that. If you do swap brakes around, you can reinstall it so it doesn't leak all over. Grab that, go ahead and install it while it's upright so you don't lose any fluid. Again, this will make it a lot easier on the bleed process so you don't get any air in the system. Use your 8 mil. Go ahead and tighten that down. And you should be good to go.
Sweet, so as it is right now, this should be a totally rideable bleed. We might want to do a quick lever purge.
We always recommend doing a lever purge just to get a nice solid lever fill. So we'll jump to that and show you how to go through all that.
Let's do it.
So after you get your line all hooked up to the lever, we're going to show you how to do a lever purge and a piston massage. This will get any air that was entered into the system while you're doing the install to come out of the lever. So when you get your brakes, when you initially get your brakes, you don't have to do a full bleed. We really recommend trying the piston massage and lever purge to get a solid lever fill. So you're going to grab your T15, and if you do get the basic bleed kit, it does come with an extra piece of hose, a fitting, and a little plug right here. So put a little bit of oil in there, and that's all you need. You can do a bleed cup, but we always recommend doing the tube of oil. It's a little easier to see the air bubbles coming out and a little less messy. Bleed part screw. Go ahead and take your tube of oil, screw that on there, pop that little plug off, Now take out your pad spacer. So I use an old rotor, cut it up, use it as a tool. You can, Park Tool makes a little makeshift rotor you can use as well. If you're careful, you can use your new rotor. We don't really recommend that. We do recommend cleaning whatever you're using so you don't contaminate the pads. Go ahead and stick that in there. You want to go pull the lever. And then you're going to use your pad spacer and you're going to push those pistons back. And as you can see, if you want to point up here, you're going to see a few air bubbles come out once in a while. If you're good with the install, you might not get any air out. So either way is what this is doing, is it is lubing those pistons, getting them to move freely, which will help out your brake and the performance in general. So
you're kind of actuating the lever, letting the pistons move out, and then pushing them back on each side.
That is correct, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Do that 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
And we just missed it, but we did get a few air bubbles out, so that's just going to give you a nice solid lever.
Oh, there's some more.
So you can also, this is the pad activation dial. You can back that off, pump it a little bit, get it moving around so you get some more air in there. Yeah, like that. And keep in mind, if you do go on a ride and you start to have a little bit of a squishy lever, come back, throw the tube of oil on. You can, do this again and get any last air out. And the last step, if you want to, you can pressurize it. Let it sit under pressure, grab a tow strap, strap it down, let it sit for 10, 15 minutes. Typically on a new brake like this, you don't need to. Just doing the piston massage and little lever purge will do just fine. So.
The EVO Pro brakes have that new pad activation dial that's not found on the DHR EVOs. Is that something you want to kind of wind in and out or just have in one spot while you're doing this lever bleed? Yeah,
we recommend pulling it all the way out, do your bleed, do the lever purge and everything, and then you can dial that in just to see how it feels. To get it like a nice solid lever feel dial, kind of move the pad actuation dial back and forth to make sure that air bubbles get knocked loose in there. So another trick I want to show you is getting all the pistons to move evenly. So when the way oil and pressure works, it's going to go to the least resistance. So typically when you hook it up, there's always going to be 2 pistons that move a little bit more freely. So once those move freely, the other 2 pistons aren't going to move as much. How we can fix that is if the pistons are all the way back and this side is moving. So what we want to do is push those pistons back just a little bit, hold the rotor and get the other ones to move slightly. And then as you can see, they're all going to be moving fairly evenly at this point. Will get you just better brake performance in general.
Yeah. So just you're alternating which ones you're pushing back and which ones you're like allowing to move as you're like massaging the pistons.
That is correct. So if there's 2 pistons that are not moving as freely, you want to take that rotor, hold them back, hold the ones that are moving more freely back, get the other ones to move, and then now you can see a little bit of piston on each 4. That means they're all moving evenly. Nice. So rather than doing the classic spin your wheel, grab the lever, clamp down on the rotor, kind of center your caliper, I typically like to center it by eye, and that will allow the pistons to stay evenly coming out rather than the 2 pistons going and hitting the rotor a little bit quicker. So just to get like better lever feel and better pad wear, that's a trick that I usually use. No rub.
So would you say that spinning the wheel and grabbing it to center the caliper is just going to let the pistons come out unevenly, and you'd prefer to center the rotor within the caliper?
Yeah, most likely they're going to still, retract or press out evenly, but there's a chance that 2 of them will move a little bit more, just kind of throwing it off. Yeah. So for best performance, I typically like to center a little bit, and then kind of go from there. So once you get your wheel installed, the brake might rub a little bit. Don't be worried. Go bed them in. They'll kind of settle in. Typically the rubbing will go away. If it doesn't go away, just readjust it real quick. But don't be alarmed if it does rub slightly once you get it installed. Once you do all that, you still have the tube of oil up here. You're gonna go ahead and do the lever purge again, see if you can get any final air coming out of it. Feels like we're pretty good. Turn that pad activation dial in. It's nice and solid lever feeling.
And so the last step of the whole, lever purge or any bleed really is closing the system is the last step. So don't take this hose off and close everything before everything else is buttoned up, right? Before you've got, your pads massaged and everything or your pistons massaged and yeah.
Go ahead and you can take this little thing over here. So it's just like when you're a kid and you put your finger on top of the straw so the fluid doesn't leak out. Stick that in there. Pull that off. Might be a little drips coming out, so you do want to have a rag ready. We're good there. Then go ahead and put your bleed port screw back in with your T15.
That's a clean bleed overall. I mean, if we got one tiny little drop, that's a quick, look, it's gone just like that. Super clean bleed. It's sweet to see that simplicity is still, well, maybe simplicity is the wrong word. There's nothing simple here, but there's not a whole bunch of extra frills that TRP is adding. It's a very straightforward setup process. You know, there's definitely a lot of thoughtful engineering touches that have gone in behind the scenes, and that's something that I appreciated in the previous version, the DHR EVO, and I mentioned that in the big brake shootout video that we did, was I loved how just simple everything was, and that's definitely carried over here in the EVO Pro. So, all right, like we mentioned earlier, the TRP EVO Pros, they have more integration for making a clean cockpit, something that, you know, everyone appreciates. And so this bike yoke lever uses a matchmaker mounting style, and it's just gonna mount up straight here to the brake. Kevin, can you explain the mounting system? There's a couple of options that you've got if you want on the left or the right of the brake. Can you just explain that real quick?
Yes, we have two different options depending on where you want to run your dropper post lever. If you want to run it on the inboard side towards the stem, we have this option right here that'll mount. It can also rotate back and forth, or if you want to run it a little bit further outboard towards the grip, we do have the other option that goes right there. These are interchangeable on the right and left hand lever.
A lot of room for, you know, customizing exactly how your lever sits, your brake lever and your dropper lever and your shifter, and everything's just going to play really nicely together with the new system.
And if you do have a Shimano EV shifter, we do have an adapter for the right hand for the Shimano EV shifters. So
yeah, and I assume you guys have a clean system for your TRP shifters too?
We do. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, everyone's taken care of.
Go ahead and take your T25 and bolt that down, get it all nice situated. Then you can take your T25 right here, and you can rock it back to figure out which lever position you prefer, and then go ahead and snug that down.
All right, we got the brakes all set up. We've got them installed, bedded in, and ready to ride. So I'm gonna go hit the trails, and thank you, Kevin, for coming in and giving us a tour of the brakes, get them all set up for me. Well, I'm gonna go hit the trails and let you guys know what I think. Let's do it.
Tor, what are your first impressions on the TRP EVO Pros?
I like them. They're strong.
Whoa.
We're good, dude.
Dude, you almost took me out down the hill. That line you took, though, off the side,
It's way faster.
pretty fast.
Yep, that'll get burned in this summer.
Those TRPs are bedding in the trail over there.
Dude, I had to hit the emergency brake. As you can see, it's still winter in Bellingham. There's snow out here, and while it looks nice, it's really cold. And Mike behind the lens is freezing. So we're gonna go talk about these brakes in the studio and give you a little first impressions on them. And tell you what, I like them a lot. So let's talk more details.
All right, folks, I might have been behind the camera today, but this is a good time to get in front of the camera and show you my new style, which is called hood under helmet technology. Hood under helmet technology.
We call that, huh?
Hut.
Huh?
Huh.
All right, we're back in the shop with the heater running. Everyone's warmed up, and I have had a few days to ride the EVO Pros. We're gonna do a quick first impression review on them, even though I didn't really have enough time on the brakes to give a complete review just yet. The dirt is still pretty frozen, and there's only one trail that's not completely covered in snow right now, but I do still have some thoughts I wanna share on the EVO Pros. When you're buying new brakes, it seems like all of your options specialize in one thing, and you're kind of compromising somewhere else. Maybe they have the most power, but you don't really like the lever feel. Or you really like everything about them, but you have to bleed them every week to keep them feeling crisp. TRP's EVO Pros are different from the others in that they're pretty much second best in every category, and they don't stand out in any one category in particular. They're very, very good across the board, and they don't have any obvious compromises. Build quality is fantastic. The bluish silver finish looks great, even though it doesn't perfectly match the other silver components on the stump jumper. All of the seams on the lever and the caliper line up great, giving me confidence in the long-term build quality of these brakes. TRP's DHR EVO has earned a reputation for reliable, long-term performance, and I'm assuming that's going to be the case with the EVO Pro as well. In all-out power, they're right behind the Mavens, and they have noticeably increased power over the DHR EVOs. The power delivery is very linear throughout the lever stroke, giving a natural and predictable ramp in power, while the Mavens prefer to dump all their power right at the bite point. The EVO Pro's power is designed to be usable, and it builds intuitively as you pull the lever harder. When you get to the bite point, it's a much firmer feel than the DHR EVOs, which continue to squish a little bit more than the new EVO Pro lever when you're pulling for more power. The free stroke of the lever is very light, but it's not quite as impressive as the Hayes Dominion A4. Those Hayes brakes still win the garage squeeze test, but the EVO Pro levers aren't far behind, with a light lever feel to keep that arm pump at bay. My favorite feature of these EVO Pros compared to the DHR EVOs is the pad on the lever. I wanted to love the DHR EVOs in our big brake shootout a couple years ago, but I just wasn't comfortable with that bite point so far from the bar, and they gave me more arm pump compared to the other brakes we were testing. Just a personal preference of mine. Now, the EVO Pros let me bring that bite point closer to the bar, giving me the exact bite point I wanted from the DHR EVOs. If you like the DHR EVO feel, there is enough adjustability to get the EVO Pros feeling pretty much the same using that reach adjust and the pad adjuster. It's worth mentioning that I've only ridden the EVO Pros with the performance resin pads and TRP's 203mm race rotor. While I typically opt for a sintered brake pad, I've been really impressed with the stock resin pads in this setup. They've got a great bite, and TRP claims they give increased performance compared to their red semi-metallic pad. TRP does not make a fully metallic pad right now, and they're pretty much all in on this performance resin pad, which gave me lots of top-end power and some consistent performance. The EVO Pro lever itself has a more aggressive hook shape than the DHR EVO, which definitely feels a little different, but I got used to it real quickly. The lever looks pretty similar to the Magura MT7, but it's not quite as adjustable as that super modular HC3 lever, but when you get your little finger on that hook, it feels really similar to that Magura lever. My only complaint about these brakes is that there are a lot of riders with DHR EVOs who would be interested in upgrading to the new EVO Pro by just buying a new lever. But TRP doesn't currently sell the lever on its own. The only difference with the EVO Pro is the lever, so if TRP just offered the lever for sale separately, lots of DHR owners would be stoked on upgrading for a reduced cost. It's the same situation as the Code R and the Code RSC. You can upgrade your Code R by just buying a Code RSC lever to make it more powerful and more adjustable for the price of the lever instead of the complete replacement brake. Hopefully, TRP offers the EVO Pro lever on its own eventually, but for now, you can just get the complete brake. Overall, the EVO Pros are a step forward from the DHR EVOs in every way and have quickly become one of my favorite brakes because they really are the complete package. Tons of usable power, an adjustable bite point thanks to that pad system, and some very consistent performance on trail. The EVO Pro has plenty of power for heavy riders on e-bikes, and it won't be overwhelming for lighter riders who are still looking for lots of power. I'm going to keep putting miles on the EVO Pros, and let me know down in the comments if you have any questions about the brake that we didn't answer, or just let me know what your personal favorite brake setup is. You can get these TRP EVO Pros and really any mountain bike components at thelosco.com. We offer free shipping on any orders over $49 in the US, and yeah, we've got plenty of options, so come check us out.